Hey, I'm Kevin Martin, a former UT Austin admissions counselor who worked there in the early 2010s. And in this video, I want to talk about how it's very rare for UT Austin admission cycles to proceed smoothly. And for example, when I worked at UT, bizarre things would happen, and us frontline counselors would have no idea why. Senior staff didn't explain anything to us. In the fall of 2013, UT denied need based financial aid to their most needy applicants. And that meant the only way that those low income admitted students could enroll at UT was by taking out substantial Parent Plus loans. And UT didn't tell us frontline counselors that they'd given these financial aid packages. And I found out only after visiting some of these inner city schools. So it was a really terrible few months in my professional career. Also in 2013, they put a few hundred applicants on a wait list. And it wasn't like the recent wait list where you can opt in. This wait list was by invitation only for applicants who presumably were on the borderline. They admitted some of those students off of the wait list after May 1st, only to retract and rescind the offers that they had made after someone in the admissions office had mistakenly hit a button. They didn't intend to admit anyone off the wait list that year, and not even frontline counselors like me received an explanation from upper management as to why this happened. And that resulted in a few understandably pissed off families, like who physically, literally came to the Dallas Regional Admission Center where I worked, asking for an explanation. And UT eventually granted admissions to those students who they had mistakenly offered and then taken back. But it had already been, I think, in late May or early June. And so those students often had committed elsewhere. So it was just a giant mess. In the fall of 2019, UT admitted a record number of first time freshman applicants through the appeals process. And many of those students online, and my clients included, admitted that they didn't provide any new or significant information, which is one of the grounds for an appeal. And frankly, I have no idea what happened with appeals that year, other than to hypothesize that UT didn't build a wait list, and so they used those appeals to fill the final spaces in their enrolling freshman class. Appeals back then had everything to do with the needs of the university and very little to do with your specific request for reconsideration, except in cases of error like a transcript or a college board making a mistake, but those are very rare even today. UT did the same thing in 2022, including throughout the summer, where they admitted students in June and July well after the May 1st enrollment deadline. The same thing happened in 2023 and then also in fall 2024. And those years, they allowed for multiple appeals within the same cycle. So you could get declined, appeal a second time, and I think a third or even a fourth time. And so it was just a big mess. And so I'm grateful that for fall 2025, instead of this appeals lottery, they implemented this wait list. So we'll have to see what the wait list brings and if it allows for some sensibility to this process besides this bizarre appeals lottery. And I'm grateful I receive way less emails about appeals nowadays. Also in fall 2021, this was the first year during COVID, and there was a number of incredibly frustrating series of UT Austin admissions missteps. They released the main wave of rejections and cap offers during the school day rather than in the evening. So there was just like turmoil in thousands of Zoom classrooms everywhere with students checking their emails. And rather than releasing a wait list, UT accepted even more applicants than ever through the appeals process. While in the following year, they didn't admit hardly anyone. And so they also that year randomly admitted previously rejected students over the summer without explaining, and those students often didn't even submit appeals themselves. Also in 2021, they canceled many international applications without explanation, and they were late releasing applications for transfers. In recent years, business honors and other honors programs released decisions well after the February 1st or even March 1st stated deadlines when they would get those decisions out. For fall 2022, UT randomly added a new supplemental topic in late July. This was the Change the World supplement that some of the older viewers and parents may have watched or remembered writing about. They required that supplement for 3 years, but then that same year, they required every applicant to write a fourth supplement about special circumstances, which is usually an optional essay at UT and other universities. So it was required even though only about 5 to 10% of applicants need to share about something impacting their academic or extracurricular opportunities, even during the height of the pandemic. The frustrating thing is they released that requirement in the middle of August after a few thousand applicants had already submitted their applications. And there were other admission cycles when UT randomly distributed most or all of their decisions without public notice during school days. So not even counselors knew what was going on. And They often release decisions not on Fridays. Usually, decisions go out on Friday afternoons, and that caught literally thousands of teachers off guard. So you have students checking the email during class and then like panicking, and the whole school day is just a big mess. And so, again, in 2021 and 2022, speaking of how and when they release decisions, UT reserved all of their rejections and cap offers for a single release that came at the end of the cycle. And that was especially cruel since those students had been holding out hope after their friends had gained admission earlier. And so in those waves, like nobody was admitted, everyone was denied. Let's talk about transfer applicants. Some years they found out much earlier than others, but other times, like last year, transfer students didn't find out until the end of June, which was after the stated June 15th deadline. And UT had like sneakily changed the language on their admissions page to remove, "We will tell you by June 15th." Even after that date had passed, someone went onto the Wayback Machine and like found that screenshot. As well, every year there's these glitches on my status or RIS or the financial aid pages that may or may not indicate if a student has or hasn't gained admission. This has been happening for like 5 or 6 years. I hear and see these reports every year, including this one, fall 2025, and I honestly still don't know what to think about it. I saw someone on Reddit call it portal astrology, which is a perfect description. Honors admissions, honestly, is always a mess since they are mostly separate processes from the Office of Admissions and they basically do their own thing. So, between UT's dozen or so honors programs, the regular admissions process, and the 40-acre scholarship, there's like 15 different admissions review and outcome distribution systems that are going on in parallel. And so these offices rarely communicate with one another. So that's one reason why engineering honors releases decisions on one day, the ECE combined business honors program on another, or ECE honors a week later. Like it's the end of February when I'm recording this now, and ECE honors still hasn't come out. Honestly, I'll never understand why UT Admissions, which is the flagship institution of one of the largest and most prosperous states, just like can't predictably and reliably communicate to the public, and why they can't release decisions in a sensible and transparent way. Like their social media channels and public communications and mailing list broadcasts are like honestly, they're completely useless in communicating information that the public needs to know. The objective of their social media presence is to build UT's brand and persuade high achieving students to enroll at UT over, say, like the Ivy League or equivalents. In my second book from 2021, I argue in Surviving the College Admissions Madness that elite universities do not care about their applicants. UT and top schools know that they're going to make their numbers every year and receive more than enough applications to fill their spots. So they're not incentivized to care. Whereas a small private university or a regional school, they have to hustle to keep butts in the seats and the lights turned on. This is also to say that the application and admissions process just sucks. And honestly, I'm sorry that all of y'all have to go through this. Still, if you want help navigating your UT Austin and other college applications, email me at kevin@texadmissions.com. You can also complete the questionnaire in the information section of this video for a free admissions consultation by email. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks and have a great day.